Welcome, everybody. What a great start to a New Year's today. I mean, I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday. I really, really do. It is great to be back. It's great to be live again. It is great to be coming to you live from Delray Beach, Florida, which is also exciting. The weather is absolutely gorgeous here. So with that said, this year we are going to kick it off with robotics and automation. This is going to be a great show. I'm looking forward to everybody tuning in and joining us today. So with that said, at davecooper.live, we are bringing you the people and the processes that are building it better. Our guests and topics include experts in building systems, to building science, to building codes, to the tech used to build it better. Codes are changing, boundaries are changing, and we're bringing to you a global view of construction and innovation and evolution. And we are always seeking out the best and the brightest in construction and discovering all the ways that innovative buildings come to life. And today is no different. So with that said, we are live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and guess what? Twitch as well. And why Twitch? Because that's where the young people are, and we need more young people in this industry. And just last week, we had some of our first Twitch followers joining us, to include Greg Ugaldi is now signed up on Twitch, who is the immediate past chairman of the NAHB, which is a lot of fun. So without further ado, I think we jump right into this. It's been a long holiday break. Let's bring on Michael Ruede Jr., who is a consultant for Forward Solutions Group. Michael, thank you so much for joining us today.
Good afternoon, David. Thanks for having me.
Good afternoon. So, all right, this is going to be a lot of fun. You know, one, I'm excited for people to hear your story. Two, just so everybody knows, I'm going to say it right off the bat. He was in the Navy, and in the Navy, you were a weapons systems technician for Tomahawk missiles. So you clearly understand technology, and I think that's what's going to make this a lot of fun to have a conversation on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just one of the many backgrounds that I have, actually.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so Michael, we start this show the same way all the time, and maybe we'll switch it up today with you. But listen, I want you to tell us everything about you from the moment you were born to this very moment in time. Right now, we want to hear everything from the hospital. You have 3 to 5 minutes to do it, so why don't you jump right into it?
All right. Well, from the hospital, I was born in Southern Florida. Grew up in Port St. Lucie, Florida. I moved around quite a bit from Southern California to Washington State to Texas to Arizona to Virginia, Illinois, Pennsylvania, and now I'm back residing in Florida. So I had a couple of jobs when I was in high school, and then decided to join the Navy in 2009. I was a tactical Tomahawk weapons systems technician for the Navy for 5 years. Kept getting injured, kept hurting my knee, having the surgeries on it. So I got medically discharged from the Navy, took my education and everything that the Navy got me and taught me, and I translated into civilian world. Used my immediate technical expertise and became a field service engineer for 2 years. Then I joined Trustmatic, who most people know as one of the newer innovators in the fully automated truss line. I worked for them for 2 years as their United States sales and technical services manager. And then just recently, March of 2020, I joined Forward Consulting Group and Robotic Systems. So I'm an automation and advanced equipment solutions consultant for Forward, and new and used equipment sales for the component industry for Robotic Systems. And I think that brings us up to right now.
Yeah, I love it. All right, so, you know, Michael, we're going to jump into a presentation. And yes, we do have a presentation. Yes, we do have some video showing some of the work that they're doing in the robotics that they're using. So you definitely want to stay tuned in with us. And if you could right now, because we want as many people joining us and growing what we do in construction, hit that like and share button so we can get this out to the rest of the world. All right, Mike. Let's jump into this. You have a presentation to go through. Why don't you start us off on the beginning of this presentation? But before you do that, let's talk about robots, man. What got you into robotics?
The main thing is that you know, I've always loved technology, and I've loved innovation, making things better, easier, more cost effective, especially down the road. And one of the things that I really noticed when I decided to join into the component industry was that there was none. There was no innovation. There was no automation growth. No nothing. It was almost as if the component industry was kind of left in the manual labor stone age, whereas every other industry really progressed. And it was something that I saw that I thought would really come to benefit the component industry. And as we see right now over the past couple of years, the thirst for innovative technologies coming in the component industry are just rapidly growing. So it's a very opportunistic area in which I find myself in, but it's also something that is going to provide just great jumps up for the whole entire component industry altogether. And I'm excited for it. It's a big future, huge move towards it. And I'm excited to see where we're moving.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. You're a young guy. We're in an industry that's only 4 to 5% of the total market right now. And I truly believe what you're doing has a long and strong future for us in this industry. And I think that's great. Real quick, it's kind of funny. I have to do a couple quick shout outs before we hop into this. So Joe Butler, thank you for joining us. Happy New Year's. Let's get it. Henry had me kind of laughing. So he says he's 4 days into his January and he's twitching. Get it? We're on Twitch too, which I think is amazing. The K, hey, amazing. We have Steve Basic joining us. Steve, if you didn't see Steve, he was on our show this past Friday with Alexandra Basic as well. From the Build Show, they have their own show, but they are architects out of Massachusetts. And we have David Martinez. Hi, everyone. I wanted to say hi real quick because it has been a while. We're going to get to all your comments and questions. So as you're putting questions up there, we will stop when we have a good break and get into it. So, Mike, I'm not going to hold you back anymore. Let's get into your presentation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I guess we'll go ahead and start with, going about your first question a little bit. I mean, there's a huge culture shift right now in the component industry from manual labor driven standards to more automation, more advanced plant solutions, and not only because of the effects of COVID-19 and separation and issues with the market, but it's been a drive of labor scarcities, rising wages, tons of factors. One of the big things is that at Forward Consulting Group, we're trying to stand ready and deliver absolute complete knowledge and precise consulting on solutions that are presently acceptable and solutions that are coming out on the horizon. So we stand with our customers from the beginning to the end, and even a lot of times after the end for more evolution, more growing as they see fit. So we just try to guide all the way through the beginning of your adventure, all the way to the end and the completion. So that's where we are at Forward Consulting. That's what we try to do. And let's move on. So people talk about why they want to get into robotics and why they need to have advanced plant solutions inside of their plant. One of the biggest things is that we've had a big stifle of innovation in the component industry over the past 40 to 50 years. I think one of the biggest innovations is automated jigging on tables or laser projections onto tables. And that's how it's been for a while. It's almost been accepted that that's just where we're at. But nowadays, we're moving way beyond that, between having more advanced equipment in a plant, cobot solutions, which is a collaborative effort between a human and a robot to complete a task, all the way to fully automated manufacturing sources. So it's moving along, and it's coming together pretty impressively. But one of the biggest things that we got to find the balance, and we do this for every customer. Everything is very tailored, and it's finding the correct balance between the labor and the automation of your plant's needs. And whether you're going to need full automation, you're just going to need some advanced equipment solutions, or you're going to need cobot solutions. That's what we're there for, to provide you with the best solution that's going to fit your plant. You're muted, Dave.
I've been doing this for quite some time, Mike, and I have to say I've never heard the term cobots. So this is really cool, right? So there's cobots and robots. Everybody knows what a robot is, but since you said it, and maybe it's coming up later in the presentation, but what in the world is a cobot?
So a cobot is just exactly, it's a collaborative effort between a human and a robot. So robots and humans working side by side. I think one of the more public demonstrations of this is the Ford Motor Company with their exoskeleton suit for their plant workers. It's just a battery pack that has basically a cobot solution that attaches to the limbs to relieve stress and body and wear and tear on the individual while they're working in a plant. I mean, that's just one example. There's multiple examples of just robots helping out in certain processes in a plant, whereas a human is going to do the other parts.
Got it. All right, let's go. Go ahead.
All right. So I guess we're going to talk about some of the benefits of cobots and robots in the industry. I mean, not only from an efficiency and a consistent output, you're going to get increased output, but just there's the labor solution side, there's the maintenance side, and the reduction in overall costs with everything. So the efficiency and the consistent output is probably one of the biggest benefits of having advanced and robotic solutions inside of your plant. Everything is done by robots. Everything has to be done precise. It just allows for easier material flow, less loss, and things like that. As far as the labor solution, I think that's what everybody pictures when they see an automation side. That's the first thing that they see is, who can we get rid of, or how do we reduce our labor inside of our plant? And that goes back to the big labor issue that we have, the lack of labor coming into the market, the high turnover rate, the lack of people wanting to work in a labor intensive position. So it's making it even harder and driving the demand for automation and advanced equipment up in the component industry, because there's a big tide change between what used to be acceptable and what is now, I guess not necessarily acceptable, but what was the standard and now what is the standard. And that was surplus of manual labor, didn't have to, low cost for your employees. And now it's a complete shift to employees not wanting to work in manual labor and wanting to work in more automation and computers. And so it's just it's a drive and a transition of how do we make the market, accessible to the upcoming generation and labor force. So that's a big one. Maintenance friendly is another big topic. A lot of the manufacturers of all these different solutions in robotics, they understand that they're going inside of a component industry plant. So they want to make the equipment as maintenance friendly as possible. So most of the spare parts are readily available, commercial, off the shelf. They're similar, if not the same style and systems that your maintenance team would already find inside of your plant. The only difference is that there's either robots or automation that's going into it, which goes directly tied back to the manufacturer of that equipment, who's basically always ready there with Wi-Fi connectivity to troubleshoot, to update, so that way that portion of your maintenance team or the equipment your maintenance team doesn't have to really worry about. So a reduction of workers' comp and other insurance things, of course, when you drive down your labor, you're not going to have as many workers' comp, safety issues, and things like that. It just kind of goes hand in hand with the more people that you don't have to utilize, the lower your costs go.
So what you're saying is, they can troubleshoot these robots over Wi-Fi for the most part, just like they come and work on our computers over Wi-Fi. And again, a lot of people would always argue that, hey, this is taking jobs away. But the reality of it is, there's no skilled labor out there that wants to do this work right now. So this is really going to be creating more technical jobs in the construction industry for a smarter workforce, the way I see it.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, it's a transitional period to what your labor force is really trying to do with their careers. So it's just a transition from a little bit less manual and intensive job to more of a technical side. And that's that's what we've been really finding, that the upcoming labor market is, that's what they're looking for.
Got it.
So, and if we go to the the path of the automated or advanced systems, robotics has been, I guess, in the component industry for a little bit of time. Equipment with advanced properties or of labor relief designs developed mainly from inside the component industry, from lumber picking systems to automated pucks or tables or laser projection. It's not a new concept for the component industry. It's just that the big difference between early solutions to present day solutions is just the level of autonomy, the ease of access, the endless possibilities of what you can do with your solution, between lumber sorting and material handling and flow and your assembly and stacking. It's just there's a big difference between what it used to be and what it is now. So from a lumber picking system to the first automated component saw or auto jig setups, one of the big things is that they were the early adapters, and then there was a little bit of a stifle of the innovation inside of the industry. And what we're seeing now is not necessarily an opposite entrance into the market, but we're seeing a lot more of outside innovators and outside engineering companies or automation companies coming into the component industry and recognizing that they can add a lot of benefit, as opposed to manufacturers from inside the industry who have just kind of kept a little bit of the same status quo in some aspects. So it's been good because the spike of innovation from outside the industry has also driven a spike of innovation from inside the industry for equipment manufacturers.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but I can definitely see that the outside, pressure to be better, to innovate, to bring new solutions would put the inside pressure on as well. But I think we've been saying that all along, especially on this show. I do believe that a lot of the pressure and the change in this industry, wholeheartedly, is going to come from the outside and open the eyes up of those that have been in this industry for a long time.
It has, and it's a harder concept for what I understand from the component industry side is just the level of innovation that the component industry has had over the past 40 or 50 years, whereas every other industry has just sort of naturally progressed with innovation and technology going up. And so what we've seen is in the past couple of years is that the component industry has recognized that they need to jump their innovation levels up, and it's a way bigger kickstart to get more innovation, more robotics, more advanced equipment, like every other industry in the country or in the world.
Right, for sure. I agree with that. I got so many questions, but I'm going to hold my questions just like everybody else out there for a few moments here. So let's keep rolling through. I know we have a lot to cover. Yeah.
So right now with the component industry, what we've been seeing is that the productivity from what we've seen over the past 4 or 5 years to what we're seeing now is that the output is increasing, the productivity is increasing, the efficiency is increasing with every single innovation, every single update. As it's moving extremely rapidly. The price point is also dropping and becoming more readily available. I mean, it's still an expensive solution, but in the long term, it really definitely benefits. So the ROIs are usually expected to be around 5 years. And the benefit is that you can always trade some of that offset some of the cost by labor reduction or efficiency output or adaptability within your plant. And it just comes down to how you're going to be using your plant and what you expect out of your solution to really get the best out of it. Mm-hmm. And there's tons of companies that are doing automated solutions for our industry. There's a few that a lot of people in the industry are very familiar with. And we'll start with, like MyTech and Alpine, which are equipment manufacturers that are within the component industry. You have the Acer lumber retrieval systems. Newer ones are, say, House of Design, Trustmatic, Randeck, companies like that who have come from not necessarily outside the industry. Some of them have been from outside the industry, and really sparked a level of desire to have automation and advanced equipment inside of their plant. Each one has different solutions, whether it be for roof truss or floor truss or wall panels, all sorts of different solutions. So it just depends on what our customer is looking for to fit their plant.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny, just having some recent conversation on this. I've learned that a lot of those companies will actually collaborate and work together, or you'll have a mixed match of different machineries based on the needs of the client and based on the price point as well. Is that inaccurate?
Yeah, it's super accurate. The most public or most recent one is House Design working with Alpine for their roof truss system. They've been a great collaborative effort. I think they've been a huge spark in people seeing a different side of automation inside the industry. They had a really radical design where they can, if the machine ever was to completely go down, you just can move the robots out of the way and you can build on a manual table. And that was a very innovative thing from automation, which is a lot of people get a little timid or afraid of introducing a fully automated system inside of their plant, to where, well, what if the machine goes down? Then I can't build any trusses, or I can't build floor trusses or wall panels. So it was definitely innovative. Trussmatic has, innovated a lot with kind of opening people's eyes of what can be done with a fully automated truss manufacturing line. Ruede has, great optical sensors and, plate embedment system. There's a lot of manufacturers. Kanagawa is a huge automation company for the automotive industry, and they're starting to produce solutions for the component industry.
Right.
So it's a big mix between outside influence and inside influence that's really progressing the automation inside of our industry.
I think it's interesting what you said about, people worried if, one of the robots goes down or the truss line goes down. But if, let's say, you're an existing manufacturer and putting in these systems increases your output 50%. Well, if you lose one day, but you've been at 50% more capacity for 30 days, you're still ahead of the game in a lot of these instances, right? So I guess there's a double-edged sword to looking at this.
I mean, there's always a double-edged sword. I mean, if you look into even your car, you have a lot of people that say, "Oh, things were simpler 20 years ago with your car. It was just simple, easy to work on. I could look in the engine bay and know what's going on." And nowadays, people complain that their cars are amazing and luxurious, and my car does this and a car does that. But the more technology that you put into something, the higher risk of a fail it has, because it's more complicated. Right. Just in nature, it's more complicated. So that's where you see a lot of people saying that, oh, well, cars aren't as reliable as they used to be. Well, they're just not as simple as they were. There's a lot of complex and moving parts inside of everything.
Sure. That makes it more efficient, so to say.
Absolutely.
Right. All right, back to it.
So there's a lot of performance benefits that, of course, come from automation. And it's not just the labor costs. It's the overall longevity. That's a big driving factor. So when you incorporate automation and you get your consistent output and your consistent in-feed, and you can control everything from start to finish, you get increased longevity inside of your plant, not only from your workers, from your production. It all goes hand in hand. Whereas normally the component industry and the labor market is extremely cyclical. So there's always worry of people not showing up to work or people getting injured on the job. And I think COVID-19 has really impacted that a lot, with manufacturers being worried about their individuals getting sick or getting contaminated inside of their plant, losing their labor force. Whereas, the more that you go into automation, the less and less you have to worry about that. You don't have to really run shifts like you normally would. The automation and advanced equipment can run pretty much around the clock, except for scheduled maintenance and sometimes unscheduled maintenance. Normally, those things can really be figured out and fixed just with a simple troubleshooting call, looking at a code and maybe giving a little update. Usually doesn't take very long, but realistically, it's just it is the future. It's what everybody will be going to. It's just a matter of time. Who's going to be on the leading edge? Who's going to ride the wave, or who's going to get left behind? Is the big question.
Right. Sure. Well, we're seeing in all the other industries already, right? And being that construction is in the last place, only one way to go with it, and that's up. And you're right, it's coming. All right.
Yeah. I mean, robots and humans all have different strengths and capabilities. Where sometimes, a cobot solution is better than a fully automated solution, or a human can do something better than a robot can. It's still always about finding that balance.
Yeah. Well, Mike, I always say business is easy until people get involved. So
yes,
right.
Absolutely. So the value proposition of the investment is always doing the same task. So the biggest benefit for robotics has always been that they do the best when it is the same task. It's repetitive, less variation, less change. So the longer production runs, the longer the production runs, the more understanding of a plant, aiding the solution that they have in their plant. It's all about the adaptation part of it. So if you adapt your plant a little bit to allow your automation to run more efficiently, then everything is going to run more efficiently. If you're less adapt to change, you might restrict your solution a little bit. So it always goes back to that balance factor. But there's not necessarily always a plant like a lights out plant solution. Sometimes component manufacturers need certain aspects inside their plant to be modernized or automated. So like either certain like material handling, or a certain section like a floor truss machine, or jack tables, subsections inside of a plant that can benefit largely from automation, not always just the large overall big picture. Right. Plants can benefit a lot from the more little items.
So let me just ask you real quick, Mike. So if I'm a manufacturing plant and I'm busy as can be right now, are there ways to plug and play automation into the line? Because nobody wants to stop the line when it's going strong, and when it's not going strong, nobody wants to spend the money to do anything different because they're all waiting to see if this is the next lull in the construction industry or not. So it'd be interesting to have your take on that.
So you can't necessarily say that automation or automation integration is a plug and play. There's always a level of change that goes into introducing a whole new setup inside of your plant. Some plants don't necessarily need as much change as other ones.
Right.
You might need to change the way that the table's laid out, if it needs to be moved or perpendicular or changed in the orientation that needs to go in. You might need to update a saw in order to keep up with the automation desires. So, there is a level of installation that goes in. Now, there's ways to progress and to grow in automation by adding certain elements in certain places of your plant, definitely. Mm-hmm. And it's a tough thing, especially right now with the housing market and people having more work being delivered to them than they can actually produce. It's hard to convince somebody to say, well, let's shut down a line and install an automation on your line and pick it back up in a week. It's hard to make that justification. So it's a little bit of patience, understanding. Things don't happen overnight. That's one of the hard parts of convincing our industry to accept automation, is to accept that there is an innovation percentage that goes up, the progressive level that automation needs in order to flourish inside of an industry.
Right.
So it's tough.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we were kind of just talking about, certain aspects inside of a plant are either easier or more complex to automate. Now, with the component industry, roof trusses have been kind of the image of the component industry. So therefore, they were originally thought to be that, well, that's what we need to tackle first. It's actually one of the most complex systems to automate is a roof truss manufacturing. There's companies that do it extremely well for bringing the innovative thinking to these robotic lines, but it leaves other systems inside of a plant to be automated at an easier level.
Sure.
So we were talking earlier about companies that have collaborated together. Alpine and House of Design is one of them, and this is their. If you don't mind me showing, do you want me mind me showing a video?
Yeah, go right ahead. Love to see a video.
Yeah, so this is the House of Design and Alpine conjoined effort.
I'll put it full screen.
Oops.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Great. So we have a question that I want to ask real quick before we move any further, because it's pertinent to the earlier part of this conversation. And then we're going to come back into a lot of this other stuff. And we're going to get to everybody's comments, questions. We're going to give shout outs to everybody. So, but we got a lot of presentation to get through. But Henry Mickelberg, all the way from France, is asking obvious questions. How do you measure the productivity differences between humans and robots performing the same process?
I think it comes down to the cost of the labor. So all your labor costs that go into having manual labor completing the task versus having the robotic solution complete the task. So not only do you try to measure your cost from the labor side, but you also try to measure the output and the efficiency. So either material handling, labor costs, material costs. So you try to find the balance between what you're gaining as far as your material handling efficiency, your cutting efficiency, your assembly efficiency, it's a matter of long-term efficiency instead of just maybe your manual labor side can actually assemble faster. You're not always going to gain a direct output advantage over a manual table setup or manual manufacturing process. By the most part, humans can do faster or do things faster than a robot. It's just the long-term efficiency and longevity that changes.
Got it. Perfect. You know what? And why don't we take a moment? I'm looking, there's a ton of comments. Why don't we go in there and just say hi to a few people, and then let's get back to this presentation. That way it doesn't build up. I know people don't always have all day to spend with us, but there's some great people out there. So let's give them a quick shout out. I got to go all the way back up here to the top. All right. We got Lisa Renda all the way from Michigan is on. Thank you, Lisa, for joining us. Always a pleasure to see you. Happy New Year's to everybody. So I don't have to say that 5 more times here. We have the K399 Kafui from Ghana is here. Hey, how are you today? Thank you for joining us all the way from Ghana. How cool is that, Mike?
That is very impressive.
Did you ever wake up and say, hey, we're going to be talking with people in Ghana today? That's what's so great about live and social media. So thank you. Thank you so much for joining us from there. All right, Adam White. Hey, what's happening, Adam, all the way from England? Lack of labor is killing construction here in the UK. For
As
sure.
It's everywhere.
Absolutely. All right, Lisa has some comments here. I'm going to run through them real quick. There's several in a row. Barry at Engerman had an interesting thought last year. He believed we would attract more labor from the younger generation if we automated more. Do you agree?
Yes.
And he just took autocorrect. You meant Jerry from Integra.
Yeah. And that's it's kind of a touchy one for me because I actually fall into that generation demographic of where people can't get labor in. So, when most of the time when people are talking about labor constraints or the labor market not coming in, it's my generation that they're talking about. People not, usually it's negative things of people not wanting to work hard, or they don't stay, or they don't want to get their hands dirty and things like that. And I think that there's a decent mix of that. But the hard part is, when you go around and look at a component industry, most of the time people see workers swinging hammers and lugging things around. It kind of makes the plant a little bit, I don't want to say unsexy, but like unattractive to future employment. So
unsexy
yeah,
is a good word because that's exactly what it is. A lot of people, younger generation for sure.
Yeah. So adding innovation, adding advanced equipment, and automation inside of a plant definitely brings a younger generation into your plant. Think about most of the degrees and what people are striving for right now is IT and technology. And if you bring the technology to the industry, then the people that are interested in technology will follow.
That's right. Spot on, Mike. I love it. I love that. All right, another comment all the way from Twitch. Greg Ugaldi, Dave over here on Twitch. I really thought you were a Dave Cooper cobot. This is great info. That's it. I need one of those exoskeleton suits. Maybe we can get Ford to lend us one so we can show everybody what it's all about. So I don't know, Mike, if you know Greg, but Greg is the immediate past chairman of the National Association of Home Builders. The ladder does not go any higher when it comes to the NAHB. So there you go. Thanks for going to Twitch, Greg. I always love your support. We have Andrew Seeley joining us today. Hey, Andrew, happy New Year's to you, my friend. Great conversation today. Love it. All right. Question from Tony Woods. Evening all, great presentation. We are about to embark on robotics cobots in rebar as a first in Europe. Any advice you would suggest or we would use?
So when he's talking about rebar, is he mainly talking about the joining and tying of rebar in a structure?
Yeah, that's a good question. So Tony, if you're still with us, if you could put in the comments what you mean by that, and I'll tell you what, we'll come back to it. How about that, Mike?
Yeah, it sounds good.
All right, we have Chris Rosh. Are cobots used more often as stemming stone solutions between manual and full automation, or as end solutions?
It depends. a lot of times plants only look to, innovate certain areas of their plant. So they just want to add some advanced equipment or some robotics to help with some of the scenarios that they work with. On one hand, like I said, there's some things that a robot can do better than a human, and a human can do better than a robot. So they try to find that balance. So if the robot can do a certain repetitive task easier than a human can, but the human can do the final product easier, or vice versa, they find that harmony between what level of automation they need inside their plant. So sometimes a cobot solution is actually more beneficial inside of a plant than full automation. Sometimes that deals with constraints of your floor plan, what you're trying to accomplish, and things like that. And then on the other hand, cobots are a great stepping stone to get into more automation. It's a little bit, sometimes a cheaper initial, sometimes a little bit initially cheaper to do, but it leaves room for growth.
Right.
So it's a toss up. Like I said, I mean, like, so say for instance, catching lumber on the backside of a saw. Okay, if you're still using manual carts, then you're not going to put a robot on the backside of a saw. It's just not going to be able to keep up with different styles with different cuts as fast as a human can. A human can sort the lumber faster. Now, if you attach a conveyor system onto the back of that, then yes, the robot would be a better solution for that. But it's just a mix between what a human's going to be more benefit, what how a human can bring more benefit to, as what a robot can bring more benefit to.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, let's jump back into it, Mike. We're 45 minutes into this, and we got a little ways to go. So if you put a question in and we didn't get to it, we will definitely get to you, but we got to get back to our presentation.
I mean, so as we've gone over a little bit of the roof truss systems, House of Design, Randec, and Trussmatic have really innovated in the roof truss side. But as we start to move more into the innovation inside the component industry, we really see that there's other scenarios or other systems inside the plant that can utilize automation, and sometimes it's a better starting point inside of a plant to go with a different system. So say like floor trusses, relatively uncomplicated. They're very similar. They do long strains, and that's something that is the basis of automation, is long, repetitious procedures that the robot can do better than a human over the long term. So this is actually House of Design's idea of their floor truss system, their automated floor truss system. Mm-hmm. And it goes from the splicers to the robots handling the members, flipping and plating. And since it's that long stretch of repetitious work, it's something that the robots are very efficient in. So that's one area. We're also seeing a huge influx in wall panel side. Now, say we were talking earlier about the cobot solution. So say inside of a wall panel plant, you still are trying to put your panels on the actual wall panel. This is where a cobot solution is very beneficial. So say you have your stack of OSB, your plywood, your gypsum. Something that is easily benefited is a robot on the other side of the line actually using a vacuum system to grab those pieces and to swing them around and place them correctly, instead of your worker grabbing a giant sheet of plywood or OSB and then trying to place it. So it's one of those things that can really be beneficial. And then you go onto the full automated side, to where you have minimal human interaction, and robots will do pretty much all of the work. Now, the cost of that is usually you will need a bigger space. You need more room to acclimate for your robots, or for the different stations that they're going to be assembling and building and passing on to the next station. Mm-hmm. So if you look inside of a automobile plant is absolutely huge, and that's because it's basically all automated, but they create stages and stations for the robots all the way around the plant. Each robot is controlled and does one specific task.
Right.
What we're trying to do is we're trying to incorporate multiple tasks or even the entire system inside for the component industry, and it's that level of compromise. We don't have the space structure that an automobile plant has, but we're also, we're not working out of a garage, so we have flexibility in what we can give to the customer to fit inside of their plant that makes the most sense for their efficiency output gain that they want.
Perfect.
So like I said, panelization is a big thing right now, especially with what we're seeing is there's a bigger drive towards more modular and offsite manufacturing. Modular homes are a big one. And the beautiful thing about modular homes is that the construction design of the homes are all controlled inside of the manufacturer. So with the manufacturer controlling all the requirements and specifications, it makes automation integration very lucrative and easier than just going to an old school system or an old school plant and trying to completely modernize their plant.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you: Are there any new manufacturing facilities coming online using automation that we should be on the lookout for? That you guys are part of or know that's happening?
I mean, there's a couple. There's some that I can't say, but once they're up and running, will be public. Some people just want to, I guess, keep their future plans kind of close to their chest. I think that right now we're really starting to see the big push to bring it inside of the plant.
Yeah.
And it's on different levels of either full automation or portions of automation. So the problem is that yes, there are plants that are coming up with innovation, and yes, you will be able to see them. I cannot specify which plants are doing what at this point in time, but when they do come online, everybody will know.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you know what? I hope they do. Right here, look. Here's my soapbox. All right, you ready for it, Mike? Because
I'm on the soapbox with you too, because I know exactly what you're going to say, and I'm right on it with you.
Well, I mean, listen. I agree. Keeping things close to your vest, and I get it. If somebody has figured out the perfect widget, when they do come out of their stealth mode, I hope they are actually murdering it, because so far in this industry, there's a lot of widgets. There's a lot of could-be unicorns out there. But the reality of it is, at 4 or 5% of the market, we should all be collaborating. We should all be working together the best we can to chomp up as much of this market as we can, in my personal soapbox opinion. But with that said, I'll let you get back to it.
I agree with you. I don't think that one of the big drivers is the innovation in the component industry, and one of the reasons that I love the component industry so much is that it's an industry of brotherhood and growth, and good character values all the way through. It's not more generally, it's not a cutthroat. You're my competitor. I will not share anything with you. Everybody's always willing to help each other and trying to innovate the industry as a whole. So one of the awesome things that I get to see now, some companies don't, some companies keep things really close to their chest, and others will keep it close to their chest until it's ready to unveil. Right. And then they unveil it to the world to show the innovation, and to by them introducing it into their plant, and by them showing it, it actually helps create even more growth and more innovation inside of the industry and more interest. Okay. So the more people see innovation and automation inside of plants, the more other people want that as well. So there's no sense in hiding it and keeping it from everybody. It should be hey, I have it. Come check it out. You got to get this. Right. That's what we want.
Yeah, and it'll spur more growth. We had this conversation Friday with Steve Basic and building science, and it's the same thing. You may be the best in the industry out there, but if you don't have those conversations and share that knowledge, nobody will help you one up your own game. Mm-hmm. You get stuck in your own world. So love it. All right, back to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So another areas that we see that are coming, automated guided vehicles. So anybody that's seen the inside of an Amazon plant knows that everything is pretty much run off of automated guided vehicles. So the integration of those types of vehicles inside of a plant can be done, say, if you want to get rid of your manual carts and you just want to have a robot drive up your cart to the backside of a saw, have the catcher on the backside of the saw, load up the cart, then that cart goes and drives to go collect your nail plates that you need for that job. And that robot drives that cart to a parking spot. And then when the station is ready to build it, they just call that robot. It comes to the station, drops it off, and it's ready to be built. So that's one of those areas where you're not fully automating your plant, but that's a certain stage and definitely an area where you can automate, and it will increase your ease of material flow throughout the plant and things like that. Like suction cup robotics, autonomous bin picking. So one of the really interesting things about like the house of design system or the Trustmatic system is that what they've done is they've created these like nail plate cassette areas where it's being grabbed automatically from those magazines for the robot and picking. Whereas, if you want to say you want to innovate your nail plate picking inside of your plant, basically you would have a robot grab from your stockpile, and it would have these bins that would come through that already skewed to go do a certain job, and they would just put everything inside of that bin. That bin is ready to go to the next station for the next job, and that's another area.
So that on that slide we were just looking at, is that show a quick video of that happening with that automation? Previous slide.
This?
No, you just had one that was up there a second ago. It had a little, that one right there.
Oh,
What's
yes,
that?
So this is a an automated guided vehicle.
Yeah, can we show that real quick?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can't maximize it, but hopefully everybody can see it.
So that automatically is picking and dropping and moving product from one place to another is what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things about incorporating these inside of a plant is people have a worry about personnel safety. An unguided vehicle driving around. So one of the good things is that the early adopters of this was like say reflective tape on your ground, and that would it would basically be like a movable railroad track. The robot couldn't steer off of it or move off of it, and now you can program the entire floor plan inside of that robot, and it knows exactly which way everywhere that it needs to go. But it includes sensors that will sense humans, and depending on how close or how far away they are from the robot, it'll either slow down or it'll actually stop until they are out of the perimeter of the safe operability of the robot, and then it'll continue.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, back to tour.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so big benefits from having an in-house robotics expert is you don't have to have somebody on your payroll just specifically designed or just specifically around automation inside of your plant, and that's where Forward really comes into play. Not only will we assist in the review of your plant and find out which level of automation or which innovations are going to fit best in your plant, but we also are completely independent on which manufacturer is going to fit best in your plant. If not a full solution from a manufacturer fits, will plug and play other manufacturers' pieces of equipment in that might fit you better than others. So, I mean, the whole scope of what you want to accomplish. So, say if you want to, reduce your labor costs, maintain output, or if you just want to increase output but not necessarily get rid of your labor costs, there's a whole different scope that goes into figuring out what is needed inside your plant. So having robotics expert on retainer, not on your payroll, to call on us when we're needed, not necessarily just pay us every 2 weeks like you would if they were on your payroll. It creates a lot of benefit, especially in the long term, of just being able to rely on somebody and having somebody consistently there for you, but not having to pay them as if they were a direct employee for you. So it's not just a, hey, I saw this kind of video on YouTube of this level of automation. We work with the manufacturers. We talk with them. We see their equipment in person, and we bring the best solution to our customers for that.
Yeah, love it. Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, it's like I said, it's all projects fluctuate between the infrastructure, the desired outcome, the degree of consulting changes.
Right.
Some projects require more consulting than others. So say if you're going to take a plant that was stuck in the 90s and you want to make it a 2021 plant, a lot more consulting than somebody who's stayed and try to innovate as they've gone through. We're constantly in touch with what is on the market today and what is coming up on the future as well. So always try to provide the absolute best information, most current and up-to-date information for all of our customers.
Yeah, for sure. But you know what? You're dealing with people from all over the world, all over this country. It's kind of like me being an expert in everybody's business. Just because I'm in offsite doesn't mean I'm an expert in every facet of offsite or construction or modular. You guys are very specialized in what you're doing to increase productivity and manufacturing. So you are consistently out there talking to everybody that is doing this and all the different manufacturers and always coming up with unique solutions. And I think that's really what I'm hearing, Forward Solutions is all about. And the fact that you're more of an extension of somebody's tech team, so to speak, or IT department, versus another overhead. It's not that. It's just the opposite, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the biggest benefits, one of my favorite things is how independent we actually are as a company and what the information and the solutions that we provide to our customers. We don't have allegiance to any one equipment manufacturer or any one solution, and so we're not afraid to pick and pair things with a customer. We're also not afraid to say that automation might not be the answer for your plant. That we can do other things that will make your plant actually better and more cost efficient or cost effective in the long run or the short term than automation will be. So we're not there to just push automation and advanced equipment. We're there to push the absolute best solution for somebody's plant, and that's one of the things that it's a great freedom and a great respect that we get to have. Is we're not afraid to share those opinions and share what we think is going to be the best solution for our customer.
Yeah. Well, Mike, listen, I appreciate you taking time today to be on the show. And I have a feeling that this year we're going to be talking a lot about robotics and automation. And I'm sure we're going to have you on maybe some expert panels we're going to do this year and have you back to have these conversations, because the tech is coming. The time is coming for change within the industry, regardless whether you're components, panelized, modular, rebar, any of those things. But I did want to get back because Tony Woods, we said we'd get back to him, and he did write his response. So let me get back over here real quick before I end this. He says, correct, we are modularizing reinforcement process to fabrication offsite, and we are focused on automation of all the reasons set out this evening. So robots, welding and typing, placing materials, etc. That's right. It is evening in England. So thank you for taking the time to sit with us today. Go ahead. I'll let you answer that.
Yeah. So, robots and the welding have been around for a very long time. I believe that, in the automotive world, all welding is, I think, pretty much done by robots. So it's not an uncommon practice. Rebar tying, I've seen some innovation on rebar, whether it be placement, bending, and there's even certain things of just a handheld tool that will feed, and you just loop around and it'll tie the rebar together. So it does also determine or matter of whether you're doing it in the field or if you're doing it in your house or in your manufacturing facility. If you're inside your manufacturing facility, you can set up a station that a robot can easily tie that together and get it all done, and it's structurally done and sound before it ever moves anywhere. So it depends on what level of automation you want and what you're trying to do with your plant. I mean, and we'd be more than happy to take a look at it for you and provide you with at least something of what we've seen just specific on your plant. But we would need to dive in a lot deeper to really go into that.
Yeah, and there you go, Tony. I mean, honestly, this show is all about collaboration. It's all about bringing great minds together, having a conversation, and whether people do business together or don't do business together, it is about expanding the knowledge of what's happening out there. And, Mike, you guys, you, Ben, Joe Butler, you guys are all great individuals personally and professionally. And it's been a real honor having you on the show today. I just have to say, heck, and a Navy veteran. So thank you for your service.
Thank you.
I don't know. Were you nervous playing with Tomahawk missiles all the time? I'd be nervous playing with Tomahawk missiles.
I was more nervous to do this interview than I was to launch Tomahawks off in the Navy, actually.
Yeah. Well, listen, nothing to be nervous about here. Hey, we do have a live road show getting ready to take place in February, everybody. So if you would like us to come see what you're doing and you want to showcase your automation or what you're doing better in the building industry, please reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. And if you want to sponsor us, we're always looking for sponsors. This education and traveling and everything that we're doing is very, very important to the industry. And we're going to be the ones out there doing it, traveling this country from East Coast to West for a minimum of 6 months to a year. So join us. We look forward to having everybody involved in this. So with that said, if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, we need you to subscribe. Please go there right now and do that. It's super important to us growing what we're doing. YouTube is a major factor in how big we grow this. And listen, we're on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. So if you're in this industry, start going to Twitch. That's where the young gamers are. There's some great minds there, and there's some great programs going there. You might find yourself watching a video game for an hour wondering how in the heck they move that quick. It's amazing stuff. So, Mike, Forward Solutions Group and everything that you are doing, thank you so much for being on the show today. And I want to thank everybody else for taking the time. First day back in the office after New Year's holiday, and there's a ton of you that spent a lot of time with us, and we are very, very grateful to each and every one of you. Do you have any parting words, Mike, before we go?
Yeah, Dave, I just want to thank you for giving us the platform to not only spread knowledge about the automation coming and what's happening inside the component industry, but giving me and Forward a not necessarily a soapbox to talk on, but just the opportunity to spread the knowledge and what we can do and what our values are for each one of our customers. And I appreciate everybody here that has been interacting and asking questions and leaving comments. I love it. I love the thirst for more automation and more innovation in our industry. It keeps fueling more fire and bringing more and more impressive things into our industry. And it takes everybody to come together to really bring that innovation to our industry. So I appreciate it. And I look forward to talking with some of you, hopefully. And yeah.
Yeah. Hey, listen, absolutely. I can't say it any better than that, everybody. Mike, you just stay right there. I'll come back to you after the outro, so don't go anywhere. But everybody else out there, thank you so much for tuning in today. We really appreciate you. We really appreciate all your support. I love it, love it, love it. So we got a few comments. I'll flash them up real quick that just popped in. So Tony Wood said, thanks, guys. Great stuff. All right, everybody. We will see you tomorrow, Tuesday, 1 p.m. on Building Modular with Jennifer Crocus Cooper. Do not miss it. We are back at it, and we're going to bring you a great show tomorrow as well. And you might just learn something about modular construction. I'm Dave Cooper. Mike, thank you so much. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.